Hey guys, OGalbina here, bringing you guys our next Draft League Twitter discussion. Today, I have a pretty, lighthearted question opposed to the more analytical ones you usually have. Today, I wanted to know what was the wackiest thing you've seen in Draft League, whether that be a ridiculous tiering decision, rule, or moveset. I thought it would be pretty fun to kind of go through and see the funny things you've seen throughout the times in which you've played the format. If you've made any funny decisions, and there's definitely some really good ones in this. So if you guys do enjoy today's Twitter discussion, be sure to drop a like on the video as well. Subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 2,000 subs, and we're getting pretty darn close. I'd really appreciate it if you help us out. We have some pretty cool stuff on the way that you're not going to want to miss. So go ahead and drop that sub. Alrighty, that being said, we can jump on into it. And just the most perfect one to start off with, we have Mid Pokemaster saying any BBR tier list, which, you know what? So true. As I said, we have the worst tier list in the game. They're absolutely terrible. So I 100% agree. They're pretty wacky here in the BBR. Next up, we have Pokeberm. Excuse me. He said, I learned Photoshop to make my logo, and now I do freelance graphic design. Does that qualify? I think that is actually really cool. If I'm reading this correctly, right? I'm sorry, I'm going to sneeze again. Hopefully this isn't bad. I forgot to take my allergy medicine before I recorded after I woke up. Now, if I'm reading this correctly, I'm pretty sure he means, like, he made his own logo, and because of making his own logo, he got into freelance graphic design. And I think that is really cool. I also absolutely love this logo for those of you who don't know and are new in Generation 9. Especially in Generation 8, my love for Licky Licky just shot through the roof. The amount of times I used it in draft and drafted it, and I was spamming it on every team. That's why I called the Dunsparce the Gen 9 Licky Licky, because I'm spamming it right now and I absolutely love it. Licky actually became my third favorite Pokemon ever from using it so much in draft last gen. So I love seeing a logo with him. I love the derpy little tongue. He's such a cute guy. I absolutely love this logo. So big shout out to Burn. I think that's super cool that you got into Photoshop and found something else you were passionate from playing, Pokemon Draft League and, things like that. So that's definitely really, really cool to see for sure. All right, next up, we have Thurley, who's part 2 for he did other ones too, which I'm sure we'll see as we go through, but Twitter is weird with how they sort things. One of the wackiest but creative things I've seen, I was in a league where you draft your team, and then after the draft, everyone was generated a number that number determines whose team you got, so you use someone else's team, not your own. It's a weird idea, but a lot of fun. I think I've seen off-season tournaments like this before, and I think it's a cool idea if everyone takes it serious, but then you end up having the guy that drafts quadruple weather, and then you end up getting the quadruple weather team, and you're like, I don't want to play this shit, and you drop. And that kind of happens with a few teams, with you get a team you really, really hate using, or someone got a little bit gimmicky of a team. So I don't know if a full league would work that way, but I do think that it would be a fun little off-season tournament or something like that for your league. But yeah. Next up, here we have Hawaiian Shaman saying, I won't shout out the league, but this one league was a Gen 8 Natdex league and had the following tiering decisions using an 18-point tier list. 18-point Ferrothorn, 17-point Chansey, 14-point Speed Boost Blaziken, 2-point Stakataka, and 1-point Comfey, and so many more. Now, tiering decisions are my favorite thing to see, wacky ones, because, again, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. And when I laugh at these and look at these, it's all in good fun. And I don't even think anybody's, specifically called out or made fun of that wouldn't like it. But I always think it's really funny to see tiering decisions like this, and you're gonna kind of see it's a theme to see a lot of leagues with maybe newer players or things like that, really restricting the idea of any kind of stall, or fatter, more balanced play styles, which I get it. I remember in my first couple leagues, Cresselia was a max point mon because people thought it was impossible to beat, where in reality, Cresselia is a terrible Pokemon, at least in my mind. It's definitely very, very much so beatable and not worth anywhere near a top point value. And you're going to see something like that, like a 17-point Chansey, 18-point Ferrothorn, 14-point Speed Boost Blaziken that should actually never be allowed in draft. But that's a discussion for another day. Maybe that'll be a good Twitter discussion. But yeah. Next up, we have Jayber saying stall bans, which we're going to get into a ton of those throughout this whole thread here. But yes, there's a lot of really weird stall bans, and I think that's really funny. Next up, we have Celeste saying, I've recently discovered a league where Terrabasket Legion female with last respects but legal, but Cresselia has a Terra ban. That's because Cresselia is broken, man. You give it a steel type or a poison type and you can't toxic it, that means you can't beat it. So, super broken. Next up, we have Benny here, I think that's how you say it, or Full Life Games, saying Trapping allowed, Palafin allowed, and Dracovish allowed. I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but those things should be allowed and are not broken. I understand, the trapping argument. But I think in a counter team format where you can prepare for something like a Gothitelle, like a Diggler or something like that, it's not anywhere near as broken as in like a Smogon setting. But I understand that one. But I don't think in playing that like Finn and Dracovish are bannable is necessarily the case. They're very solid Pokemon. Vish is definitely not bannable, though. An incredibly one-note Pokemon that's very, very much so easily checked and countered in a counter-team format. Finn is pretty damn good and very, very versatile. I actually thought about trying it in a Wi-Fi league that we have a draft house going up for on Sunday. I almost was thinking about trying to like potentially get it there, but I realized it's a very difficult Pokemon to use too well at a high level, and it's very tough playing 5v6 until you find that opportunity to switch in, switch out. You're often losing a lot of momentum. And there are definitely ways around it. It's definitely a top tier Pokemon, but I don't think it's anywhere near bannable. And if like a league bans it or doesn't ban it, I don't think it's like a super crazy decision. Next up, we have Livesing. There was a league that used to allow every coach to ban one Pokemon each from the established tier list. And I don't know if it was the dumbest or coolest rule. I've never seen the innovation. I've seen it for innovation in the space. Also, early seasons of Clash low tier was dumb. It took several seasons to feel low tier. That's fair. So the first one, the ban thing, I think, again, these sound like really fun ideas for an off season, but then you end up like, if this ends up being your regular gimmick and ends up kind of getting a little muddled, people won't take it as serious. And when you do that and you're kind of having these funny little gimmicks, it's fun for the first 2 weeks and then it gets super out of hand super fast and it's not fun by week 4. So I could see that like not super lasting far, but maybe the league did well. I definitely think that's an interesting idea for like a, an off-season tournament. And Pokemon, like, balance and, like, metagame balance is such a fragile thing that if you just start picking things out that don't deserve to be out, other things become immensely more broken. So you have to be very careful. And then Clash low tier, what she's referring to is Clash of Kings, which is a team tournament. One of the formats that we have in it is low tier draft. And the first couple seasons, and even the most recent season, there's a lot of tiering mistakes. And it's mostly because there's not a lot of data to go off of for other low tier things. Like the really Clash is the only thing that does like a lot of low tier. So I think that's why the tier list kind of ends up being very, very wonky. Even this most recent season where I captained and my team actually won, low tier was a very, very hard tier to navigate and felt very unbalanced and unfair at times, depending on the matchup, either in or against our favor. So yeah, definitely interesting. Okay, next up we have Thriller here with, I think, what's part 1. He said, I think one of the stupidest things I saw in a league was where we were drafting and everyone got 8 hours to pick. It was on the first pick for the end of round 2, beginning of round 3. So I'm assuming it means back wheel. They used up all 8 hours, but didn't get stipped because it got another 8-hour timer because it was your wheel, so you get 2 timers. I have actually seen this one before. I've played in leagues where people have done this, and I agree. I think it is so stupid because you don't need 16 hours to pick 2 Pokemon if it's back-to-back. If you're on the wheel, you're typically going to be drafting Pokemon in pairs and things like that. You do not need 16 hours. 8 hours is plenty enough time. So your timer should be 2. I don't want to hear whining about, that's not fair. Everybody else gets 8 hours per Pokemon. No, you get to pick 2 at a time. It should be 1 timer, 8 hours. I've seen this before and it drives me insane. Drives me crazy. Okay, next up we have Howler saying PCLD League Fire Sales. Every round, a new set of mons have their point value discounted, and the offer was only valid for the specific round of the draft. I thought it was pretty cool. That's a cool idea, actually. Again, maybe for like a tournament, full leagues, again, maybe I'm too sweaty. I'm just a sweaty guy. Just got back from the gym too, so super sweaty. I don't know if I would love that for like a super balanced competitive league, but like for a tournament or something fun, that sounds like a really cool idea, actually. Like, could you imagine getting like 13-point Celesteela because it was on sale in round 3? Like, I don't know. And you could also see wacky things going round 1 because someone's like, I can't believe this Pokemon went on sale. If there was a cool way to like automate it and have it be random too, I think that's a really cool idea. I would totally play in a tournament like that. Next up, we have Shuckle King here saying Tier 2 Shaman Sky, which is is a joke at my good buddy John Jr. NCP Season 1, I think it was, which is before I knew him even, years ago, before I even started playing Pokemon. He was just a wee lad in high school, and he was making his own tier list based on what he thought was good, and it wasn't very good. Obviously, he had Shaman in Tier 2 Shaman Sky, and then I think he like banned Shedinja, and it was a very, very funny tier list. We've gone back and looked at it a few times, and it is one of my pride and joys to look at. Oh, it's very funny. Next up, we have I don't know how to say it, so I'm not going to say it. I'm going to say it. Benoit. This person says it's whack, but randomized drafts are really fun. I mean, that's fair. Again, maybe for like a short, but that also just kind of feels like Rambats. You know, I could just play Rambats. You know, I guess I can't build for someone specifically, but I don't know. Tarot Croc here is going to say Toxic Protect Recovery Clause disables the use of Toxic in a combination with Protect and or like Recovery, e.g. Wish or something like that, which is so funny. Again, these like stall bans where people think that there's no other counterplay to the move Toxic or Fat Pokemon other than like banning them outright or stopping them from functioning in the way in which they're supposed to. It's all in good fun. It's funny. Obviously, you know, as they get better and they play, they'll probably realize that, hey, maybe that rule wasn't the smartest thing, or that's just how they enjoy playing. But I definitely think that's pretty funny that there's such specific you know, complex rules and clauses to stop people from clicking the move Toxic and Protect, which I definitely wouldn't like in that league. Anytime there's widespread Toxic or, you know, fatter playstyles and things like that available, I typically tend to lean a little bit more towards balance myself. So, yeah, definitely interesting. Next up, we said, not sure if tiering was a meme, but it allowed a lot of Ubers and had non-nasty plot Darkrai's in the same tier as Rhydon. I'm assuming it was just people who didn't really know what they were doing. It's funny though that they did like the complex play of no nasty plot Darkrai, because I've seen that allowed in some leagues, especially in Gen 8. We were seeing a lot of people test in like no nasty Darkrai, seeing if it was broken. Spoilers, it still is broken. So they kind of had like that complex like ban, but then also had it in the same tier as Rhydon. So that either means that Rhydon was in like 18 points or Darkrai was in 5. So, I don't know. Next up, we have Seth here saying, someone bring Calm Mind, Dragon Claw, Dragon Pulse, Latias every single week. They were trying to catch the Spadef walls with their Dragon Claw, Seth. What are you... Seth, this guy. No, I'm just kidding. And then he said, in another league, they had a please don't draft stall rule. Is that what it said on the doc? Is please don't draft stall, please. I don't want to play Cresselia. No Ferrothorn, please. If someone wanted to draft a team of fat hitters, that's a way around the rule. I don't know. Is it a don't draft stall rule or you're going to get in trouble? Or is it a please don't draft stall rule? Because someone tells me please don't draft stall, I'm drafting the fattest team humanly imaginable. Next up, we have Witchard here saying a 24-hour draft timer, and people still managed to get skipped. It also allowed Naganadel and Mega Mawile for 15 points, while Chansey and Blissey were banned. See, it is a common reoccurrence with these leagues that they're banning these Pokemon who actually aren't very good, but are hard to beat if you just throw HO into them. Also, every non-Mega could use any Z move they were able to learn, including Omni Boosting. Surprise, the league died, as leagues like this typically do. Next up, we have Seth here saying, the wackiest moveset I saw in a match that I just had for week 3 in a server I've been a part in for a while now. It was a sub, Body Slam, Rain Dance, Dragon Dance, Mew. Sure, I didn't have a ghost type on my team, but what were you really trying to do? Okay. Okay, so sub DD Body Slam. No normal resist. Right? I need more context to know what the Rain Dance was for. Maybe the Rain Dance was for something in the back. Maybe, did you have a Torkoal? Wait, if you get a Torkoal, that's super demon. Because you sub up and you chew anything it goes for, especially under the rain. And then you start setting up DDs and, oh dude, I would have been DD Facade. What do you call it? Rain Dance. Roost instead. That sounds super demon to take advantage of a, you know, normal resist Torkoal team. Now it also could just totally yawn you, but we're not going to talk about that. Next up, we have Nangans here saying Flame Orb Zoroark, Flame Orb Trick Zoroark, which is a pretty cool tech. Nothing too crazy, but it's nice to get a little burn on something, little burn skis, especially with your illusion ability. So that's really cool. Next up, we have Pokemon Trainer Orange saying, my time has come. The first one is required to draft an LC Mon, bring it to every game. Oh my god. However, the league allowed first stage Pokemon to be counted as LC, and I got Type Null. My opponent first week got very upset over that. I think he has a couple. Oh my goodness. Various anti-stall rules. No toxic, trapping moves, etc. There we go. What do you call it? Set in league. Wait. I'm trying to figure out like which order it's in, because I'm not very smart. Also did not have a dot. Wait, okay, we're gonna go here. I think it's Following up with a Gen 7 league that had a myriad of issues. Smogon tearing 32 people. It made you, in the order you joined was the draft order. Oh my god, that'd be terrible. That's the most corrupt shit ever too, because like owner 1 and owner 2 got first and second pick, and they're like, no, it's just the order in which we got here. That's hella funny. And it wasn't Snake? Oh my gosh. What? I still got Magirna Ashgran in standard Gen 7. League died 2 weeks in. 13 mon rosters too. I know leagues that he's also said I know leagues that do 2 games in 1 week. I like one a week and can't believe the other exists. Interesting. I wonder. A week for said league isn't a full week. It's the weekdays. Weekends are nothing to them, and you have to play both games by Friday. That's even worse. So you have to play 2 games a week, but the weekend doesn't count. So you have to play 2 games in between Monday and Friday for 1 league. That's crazy. Said league also did not have a dock for Gen 9. They wanted it to be national decks, so they just put whatever mons on the tiering and called it a day. Free agents are done in 1 week, similar to how you do draft at the start of the season, but now there's more Pokemon. What? Jesus. Then we have tier 1 Regice, which is just we go from like this big old thread to tier 1 Regice, which is definitely I'm at a loss for words for this thread so far. There's been some wacky stuff. I think we're only like halfway through as well. Like there's been some crazy shit here. Next up here we have NFQ saying Shell Smash ban. Shell Smash. I want to know who hurt him with Barbarical, or fucking what's his name? Why am I forgetting his name? Crustle. I forgot Crustle's name. I was going to say Cloth, but Cloth doesn't get fucking Shell Smash. But Shell Smash being banned is definitely a pretty hot thing. I feel like that's just someone losing to Shell Smash and being pissed about it and saying, no more of this. Next up, we have Pickle here saying, my one friend was in a league, and not a good one, that tried to hard ban Stall. Yep. You weren't allowed to run Toxic or more than one bond. You couldn't run Cosmic Power, etc. He decided to be a stinker and used Fake Stall. Hazard Stack and Calm Mind Blissey plus Banded Pex league died. Usually the leagues, so I'm seeing a trend here. Usually the leagues that ban Stall. Snowy, what are you doing? Everybody say hi to Snowy. She heard Aegon wake up, my other dog. Usually leagues that ban hard Stall are ending up dying, so who would have thunk it? Next up, we have Sandy Simmies here saying, so in a league that's run and played with just a group of friends, we argued so much on where to place the forms of Basculin to the point where we decided to go to they go in the tiers of the same color. So Red Stripe was tier 1, Blue tier 5, and White was banned because no tier is White. That is the only logical explanation to that problem, and it kind of leads perfectly into my favorite tweet of this thread, and probably the thumbnail, is Steve aka Magnitude, who is, if you don't know, the creator of Draft League, the GBA creator as well, saying making it, which is, it might be the most true statement ever told. Definitely my favorite tweet on this thread, and yes, making it indeed. Maybe I'd go outside a little bit more if Steve Magnitude didn't make Draft League, so I'm gonna blame him. I agree. Terrible decision from you, sir. Next up, we have Joe Carlino here saying there was a league their friend was in. He led Hatterene and his opponent led Galvantula for webs. Those were bounced back, and he swapped an Umbreon. Umbreon baton passed the -1 speed, and he lost the game because the league had a no stat passes period rule. That's hilarious. So typically, baton passing any kind of stat boost or stat changes is banned, but leagues typically do it to where, like, if it's accidental stat pass, or and it's like a negative accidental pass, you're not gonna get in trouble for it because, like, it's not something you can really control. And I've never actually seen a league that's like, no, if you accidentally pass a baton pass, so like if the opponent defogged into him and he got the -1 evasion and then he baton passed, would he have lost then too? That's crazy. That's crazy. Next up, we have Fabio here saying teleport ban to weaken maybe the slows, Blissey, and Chansey. Stall bans. There we go. Ban Stall. Ban Stall. Ban Stall. That's going to be on the thumbnail too. It's going to be ban Stall. RIP Big Stall. Next up, we have Hunby saying, I drafted a 65-point Kyogre. Real God can vouch. I think Aquarius talked about this a little bit later on, which is pretty funny. Next up, we have Lars here saying, the first ridiculous thing I encountered was so-called Toxic Claws. Ban Stall. Ban Stall. Where the people couldn't bring more than one Toxic user to the game. But that's not all I saw. A variation of the safe rule. I don't know of said rule, where you can only bring a Toxic user that learn the move naturally in Gen 8. Just why? ban stall. That's why. Then we have Lars again. I just remembered I participated in a Gen 8 League once where the commissioner forgot to put certain mons on the board, so it was a rule if you could draft mons that weren't on the board in the last tier. Well, it didn't end up so balanced anymore. I'm assuming that Magirna and Ashgran were forgotten to put on the tier list, and you won. If you didn't win, you have to stop playing Pokemon. If you have this team and you didn't win, you have to stop playing Pokemon. That's the rules. Next up, we have Wagon Fruit here saying Moldbreaker was his only ground. Moldbreaker was his only ground immunity Levitate heal. If this worked, I'm assuming this worked if he sent it. If anybody can look at this and tell me this is okay and we like Terra after seeing some shit like this, get some help. Terra is a bullshit mechanic. He won with Salicberry, Moldbreaker, Terra Blast, Mono fucking Mean Look Herder, Terra Ground Halucha, which is a really cool set, by the way, right? This is super funny. But what in the world? Mean Look Encore Bulk Up Terra Blast is crazy. So, I don't know. That's wild. Next up, Yaki saying, some rando brings choice CB Talonflame for me first me for a Kyurem Black. Wait. So, choice banned me first, so he copies the Kyurem. But what is he hitting the Kyurem with me first, is what I'm wondering. It's the crazy, because what physical move is he hitting Talon with? Fusion Bolt? But then, that's not doing that much damage back to the Kyurem. Is it Z Free Shot? Can you copy a Z move with me first? Or would it just be the base move, or would it fail? I don't know. I don't know. I don't get it. I'm trying to figure out what exactly the me first was for and how that would even hit it, but it's okay. I don't need to understand things. I feel like this whole thread is just me not understanding shit. Next up, we have Aquarius here saying, I'll add one more. BFL, a league I ran, had a budget system to buy advantages like double dipping on a draft pick, blocking an opponent from bringing a certain move, etc. One advantage was just called You Just Got Lilleaped and forced you and your opponent to both bring lead Lily. So it's like fucking, that's cool. It's like a board game almost. I feel like that would be a fun, like, that again, that's another fun, like, tournament idea. I don't know if I'm too sweaty, like I said, play a full league like that, but I think that would be cool if there was like a random wild card or like two like crazy things that had to happen because, you know, you randomly pulled them from RNG prior to the match. I think it'd be cool. Like, you getting Lilleaped is very funny. And I also like this gif. What a cute little guy. Yeah, that's definitely a cool idea. Next up, we have Badass Flossa saying here, the first Wi-Fi league I ever joined, the commissioner thought he'd invented the format, and wait, he thought he invented it? He was like, I did this. Wait, but then, so he had other people join, and other people were like, this has been a thing for like 5 years, and he's like, no, I did this. That's the funniest part, because I remember seeing this tweet, and I don't remember seeing that part. He said, I did this. He said, everything was run in the NFL, 32 coaches, 16-week season, but the craziest thing is coaches could re-sign any Pokemon they'd had on their team in the previous season. I think that's an interesting idea, like having like, I've thought about it. D-Ray wanted to do one, and he was calling it a keeper league, and I don't know if that's a great term for it, because it just sounds funny, but like a more like franchise long-term league where you have like the same team over multiple seasons, and you know, draft new Pokemon in between seasons, and, you know, drop certain ones, and things like that. But the best part of that is definitely the guy just thinking he'd invented the format and probably getting other people to join, and then other people being like, no, I've been playing this for like 3 years, and he's like, no, you haven't, you're a liar, you're gaslighting me. Alright, except we have another Aquarius one here saying, Super Nico randomized our Z crystals and also allowed for a 90-point Kyogre in a standard 20-point tier list, plus a 100, and it's a 120-point total league. Also, half the league could gentleman's agreement to settle in Rambats. Again, these chaotic leagues, they're something else. I feel like with hot take, I feel like with a 90-point Kyogre in a standard league, you could potentially win the league if you have 30 points left over to spend after that for like a team minimum of like 8 or something like that. Like if you could get an 8-mon team and you have a 90-point Kyogre of 30 points for 8 Pokemon, I feel like that's possible personally. I feel like you could totally do it. Next up, we have Grind here saying 11-point Dondozo, and I don't remember where like I'm typically seeing Dondozo priced. I don't know if this means like Dondozo was underpriced or overpriced, but I feel like that's like around where it should be at least. Like maybe it's a little higher or a little low. I don't really know off the top of my head, but Dozo's not that good, you know? Like, he's not, in drafts especially, I'm really not a big Dozo fan. I talked about in the last Twitter discussion, which go watch that if you haven't. But I think Dozo's very passive and exploitable in a counter team format, so I don't think that's too crazy. Next up here, we have Del saying, after every battle you lost, you can steal one Pokemon of equal value from your opponent. I end up with 4 fire types and 3 electrics. I wanted to cry. When I first met Del, he actually showed us a bunch of replays from this. I remember one night it was me, Del, and Kerr. It was one of the first nights I ever talked to him. And he was showing us a bunch of replays from this league where, like, the first 3 weeks he was smashing people. He was winning every game, but then people kept stealing his Mons and passing him shit. And he lost, like, 5 games in a row because he had, like, a Talonflame, Darmanitan, and Rotom Heat, and then, like, 3 other electric types and 4 water types. And, like, the team was abysmal, terrible, and that would be so frustrating to get punished every single time you win. I'm sure there's other leagues that have done that. Next up here, we have Marcus here saying, scripting a quarterfinals match of a once a year Surge event. You scripted it? Octafinals. So was it like rigged? I'm assuming he's talking about BFO last year, but like, I'm gonna need to see this replay, Marcus, because I'm not 100% privy to the lore. My bad, but I'm gonna need to see this. Next up here is Sandan saying, I once brought Warrior Seed Shaman against a Rotom Heat to hit him with Earth Power. My opponent hates me with that. That's actually super sick tech, actually. Wait, that's so cool. Because you Warrior Seed him, he either stays in and gets fucking nuked by Earth Power, or he has to pivot out. That's a super cool tech. I like that. That's really cool. Next up, we have DD here saying, unfortunately, I must admit it was my own league's bad tiering. I did a stab Mon lead, which I'm assuming means that, like, you can just use any Mon or any move if you're stab typing. And somehow the other 2 mods talked me out of moving type null up like 1 or 2 tiers. So recovery plus rapid spin type null went for like 8 points and won me the league. That does sound pretty nasty, I won't lie. Especially with the Eevee Light not getting crit. Whew! And then we have DD once again saying, just remember one more crazy than my first post. Oh man. I joined a standardish Ubers league where the top tier was Yveltal, Marshadow, Calyrex Ice, and Mega Gengar. Somehow got Mega Gengar 3rd pick. Obviously won the league with it and never saw it illegal in draft since. Oh really? That's interesting, because I've definitely seen Megagar legal in, like, BBL, and I, personally, when I think of Uber's draft, I think of the BBL, which, you know, they've been doing it for a long time. They're typically seen as having great tiers as well, in my mind, too, and they've been doing it for a while. I've actually never seen Mega Gengar banned, so I'm interested in, like, the greater Uber's community, because I'm also really only super privy with BBL, but I've never seen it banned there, at the very least. And then lastly, what a way to end it off, other than Kecleon made it. I don't know how to say it. Sama Hater? I don't know. But Blastoise went 1st pick overall in one of my Swiss drafts. This is pre-Crown Tundra though. Well, of course it went 1st pick overall because it gets Shell Smash, and Shell Smash should be banned as we established earlier. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I thought this was a pretty funny, lighthearted tier list. I haven't uploaded in like a week, which I apologize. I've just been so busy with school. But I got spring break next week. I got a couple leagues starting up this week after as well, which is exciting. So, yeah, hopefully there's some more content next week. And going forward, obviously, we'll have 2 regular Wi-Fi leagues to upload starting Sunday and Monday. So, I'm definitely excited. Drop a like if you enjoyed again. Sub if you're new. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.